I'm Mark Shapiro, a conductor and music director of the Cecilia Chorus of New York. Increasingly, we've turned our attention to commissioning new pieces from exciting composers that we've identified. And we have an amazing project coming up on Friday, May 3rd at 8 p.m. in Carnegie Hall. We've commissioned old friends of mine, Brad and Doug Balliott, who are identical twins. They had an extraordinary idea to set to music text by the neuroscientist Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, drawn from her TED Talk and best-selling book, My Stroke of Insight.
It's called 50 Trillion Molecular Geniuses, which is a direct quote from Dr. Taylor's book, and it refers to the 50 trillion cells of the human body, each of which she describes as its own molecular genius.
I'm Jill Bolte Taylor, and I'm a neuroanatomist. And at the age of 37, I had a major hemorrhage in the left half of my brain, and I could not walk, talk, read, write, or recall any of my life. It took 8 years for me to completely recover. And then I wrote a book titled My Stroke of Insight. Now I travel around the country and around the world keynoting about the ability of the brain to recover. And it just so happens that there's going to be a musical piece about this story, and it's going to play at Carnegie Hall on the weekend of my 60th birthday.
What the brothers have done with her text needs to be heard.
I first encountered Dr. Taylor's book maybe about 8 years ago, and I think first I saw the TED Talk, and I watched the whole thing, and I was kind of smitten with the expanding horizons of the story and the way that it made me reconsider everything about my brain.
The content is so interesting to begin with, and then the story is so dramatic, and just the idea of somebody who spent their life studying the brain and then not only has this bizarre opportunity almost like from God to study a stroke from the inside, but to come equipped with all of those tools. What a unique way to go through something like that.
The way that the two hemispheres fit together, they process information in completely opposite ways. One, the right brain becoming more open and more expansive and always seeking a connection to similarity and the one. And the left brain linearly focusing in on language and focusing in on details and smaller, so that we have these two beautiful hemispheres working together in order to manifest as what we are as human beings and the potential for both.
Jill's words are prose, but the thing that's so attractive about the words from the point of view of setting them to music are these kind of glowing phrases that are sort of like landmarks along the way in the writing that have such poetic value in themselves that when we're setting them, we can sort of always be going towards this great phrase or coming away from it. I think of something as simple as "I felt as one" that she says during the actual stroke event. And that becomes a major musical moment in the piece. And Doug, you had a couple of lines like that also that really struck you.
It's prose, but there's so much poetry in it. I never felt that it was a prosaic text. Gliding through a sea of silent euphoria like a great whale. I mean, it sounds like Rumi or something like that. Well, we are identical twins. In a very biological sense, we are two halves of something. I do feel there's something very complementary about our personalities, about the way we approach life and our interests. And it's part of what makes it so gratifying to collaborate is we have different strengths and different aesthetic priorities. And when we bring them together, I feel hopefully we get the best of both. Do you agree?
I agree.
The whole concert is actually devoted to the mezzo-soprano voice. We have two other pieces by Brahms and Elgar that feature a solo mezzo-soprano, three different mezzo-sopranos. I do think, having looked at some drafts, that there is some feeling of the mezzo-soprano voice and the chorus and the orchestra. The chorus and orchestra are to some extent the landscape on which the mezzo-soprano is doing the battle. And in this case, where Jill Taylor is experiencing what she's experiencing. So the mezzo-soprano really, there is something heroic and wise and touching about that voice part, those qualities.
Since there's a soloist in this piece, there's this question, what is the role of the soloist? Is this Jill? Are we looking at Dr. Taylor here on stage as the mezzo-soprano soloist? And then what is the chorus? Are they some manifestation of the language center of the left brain, or something in the right brain? And I think we approached this question a little bit differently. I didn't make a clear division between the two, and instead there's moments where it feels like the words are coming from a single voice, or it's more effective heard from a single voice. And there's moments where I thought it would be more effective coming from a group en masse. So it's not a extremely clear categorization, but you took a slightly different approach.
Yes, something similar. The singer is very often embodying Dr. Taylor, although I would say that the mezzo-soprano is also a little bit like the prism, and the words pass through it and are reflected to the whole chorus.
I just think it's all beautiful. You know, it's to be able to be in the presence of people who think artistically about the journey that I took, not by choice, but that I took and tried to share. To me, as a scientist, it was important to me to express what happened scientifically and what it felt like to experience a stroke in the event that someone else should recognize any of those symptoms, then they would call 911 quickly. So that's my big thing. But to be able to then be in the presence of others who take it to the next level of the beauty of the experience, it's exceptional. You know, what an opportunity, and I'm just filled with gratitude.